Electoralism is fucked. We're done. We're donezo, folks. All we get with Democrats is we hold the line a little while longer, which is what we're going to be doing with canvassing, by the way. Holding that line gives us incredibly valuable time, but that's all it is. Time. We're only buying time. Republicans are explicitly anti-democratic, and every year that passes, they do everything they can to subtly tip the scales of power more into their hands. When next the elections arrive on every level, local, state, federal, judiciary, whatever, it doesn't matter. They are working against us, and the Democrats are weak. They're spineless. They're made of jelly. They are not capable of defending us the way we deserve defense. So we can't trust them to tip the scales back the way we would want them to. We need to explore alternate solutions, whether that be radical action or direct action or preparation for self-defense or, hell, all of them. It is something that needs to be done. And I don't like the accusations of dog whistling because I have never dog whistled. I make jokes, but my positions have always been incredibly clear. Everyone is in favor of political violence because everyone supports some kind of political violence. People just draw the lines at different points. And I have always been a radical advocate for self-defense, a position that I'm proud to take unashamedly. And by the way, I have to say, I do think it is remarkable how evident and how self-evident my position is, because when you analogize it over to the Nazis, all of a sudden everything becomes clear. You understand what I mean? Like, in America, you know, it's all very this and that, but if you're like, okay, well, what, so take all these things that are happening right now, but at that point in the Holocaust, like right there, and it's like, oh yeah, of course then, set video games where you're a resistance fighter gunning down Nazi soldiers to, like, all of a sudden, radical in retrospect, passive and submissive currently. Very bad strategy for winning any kind of political battle. Why don't you dog whistle more? I don't need to, I'm right. Also, there's nothing wrong with advocating for self-defense. Everything that I have advocated for in this stream has been perfectly in line, not only with my and everyone's moral code, but with the legal rights enshrined in the United States Book of Laws. We all have a right to self-defense. We have a right to gun ownership. I'm perfectly happy to advocate for those things. I do regular whistling here, no dog whistling. I don't need to dog whistle to advocate for self-defense. But you were Pepe posting about implied active violence. All violence we enact in our cause is defensive because everything that I have said throughout this conversation has been, we should prevent a genocide. In that context, everything that I say is in reference to the concept of political self-defense. Active violence implies that we are the aggressor or the initiator, which is, under the current set of circumstances, virtually impossible. You know, the shooter in Buffalo thought he was acting defensively. He thought when he mowed down 10 people, innocent people, in a supermarket, that he was acting to defend the white race, blah, blah, blah. The advocacy for defensive action is by far the ubiquitously applied standard for justifying any kind of violence. There is a critical distinction, of course, an important one that people will often overlook, and it's that I'm right, we're right, and he was wrong. White people are not under threat by immigration. White people today enjoy, as a product of immigration, a higher standard of living in almost every imaginable way than they would otherwise, and whatever ways in which white people suffer now that they did not a century ago are not a product of immigration. It is a clean sweep. Whereas my advocacy, my belief that we are under attack, is demonstrated in the explicit and unambiguous intended behavior of all the people who legislate from the Republican side. So Vaush, if immigration was a threat to white people, would he be right? A threat to white people in what sense? Like a threat to white people being able to eat at Arby's because all the Arby's got closed down? No, a threat to white people is a deliberately ambiguous statement. If you were to say white people were under threat of genocide as a product of immigration, then sure. And meanwhile, while we're in fantasy land, like, no, of course not. Real genocide, by the way, not white genocide. What was that thing Sean said in his video? White privilege must be real. Whites even get the nice version of genocide, where, like, nobody's hurt. There's just, like, more brown people in your country. No, you'd have to justify the real harm there. And significant enough harm, and no other avenue is available or possible. Even if the white replacement theory stuff was right, who cares? Oh no, a different skin color. Well, the white replacement theory is like the malicious attempt to get rid of white people. At any rate, I believe in free movement. I don't care which demographics occupy that country. Oh no, I agree totally for you. What I mean is morally right, you know. Like for instance, like there are hate crimes done. The white Republican whatever, they'll do them defensively to defend America against the gay menace, making everyone gay or whatever. Whether or not people are being made gay is immaterial. Being gay is better than being straight because it sounds cooler, and you get to do gay things. You know, so in that case, the claim then isn't with the descriptive, what they're saying is happening. It's rather the prescriptive, or what should be happening. Can your point be boiled down to the right uses this extreme fear-mongering while lying and it works, so we should also do extreme fear-mongering because we don't have to lie? Yeah. In that case, I don't think it's fear-mongering, though. Fear-mongering implies that you're kind of dredging the sentiment, like you have to mislead people. In this case, I think it's just a basic assessment of the facts at hand that lead to the conclusions that I draw. It's like, because Republicans will say that we fear-monger about climate change, which implies that we're, like, overstating it, you know? Which, yeah, I don't think we are. One simple study on political violence in Israel, places within Gaza rocket range are 2 to 6 points more likely to vote for rightist parties. Okay. STL, with respect, you're a liberal in all but name. Your aversion to guns will not pollute me and will not pollute my audience. Like, go back in time and speak with the Black Panther Party and tell them that it's very irresponsible of them when they're under threat of cops and FBI to stockpile firearms. Listen, the being subjected to and by the way, STL, here's something that I have to ask you. Places within Gaza rocket range. Oh, so do you mean they're radicalized by the rockets or by the messaging from the Israeli government and media? See, because that's the thing, isn't it? Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. got called a militant, violent radical himself, even though he never acted as one. The propaganda of the enemy may dictate outcomes which overlap with, or sometimes even imitate, the expected outcomes of differential opinions based on proximity to violence, but that might not necessarily be reality. Guess by the rockets, the rocket range changed over time. Couldn't that still be a product of messaging? So people know where the rocket range is, and they go, ah, yes, well, of course. It's impossible to separate what's being done then by the behavior of Hamas and what's being done by the media. At any case, though, those are terrorist attacks being done indiscriminately against civilians in Israel, which isn't what I'm talking about. I'm talking about arming a neighborhood to defend yourself in case militias come to you to attack you. Doesn't really work as a proximity determinant then when I'm talking about mostly urban and suburban groups getting like ready in case they ever are attacked. Then it's like, who's going to be pushed to the right by that? Their neighbor who is also buying the gun to defend themselves? You'll not get me, SDL. You'll not get me. I just want all of you to live. I hope you know that. Sorry, I was too mean to SDL. I love you, SDL. You're a very good data male. I just really feel like a lot of people don't have, they don't have a plan, you know? Don't get me wrong. It's not like I want to go out. I want to eat nuggies and play video games. I don't want to do any of the shit that I'm talking about. But I think we have to at least talk about it. Not to mention, like, if I'm right, and I think I have every reason to be right, and the violence is coming anyway, you'll be a victim of it whether you want to be or not, you know? It's not really LARPing when it's out of self-defense. If the violence is coming for you, if it's going to happen anyway, I mean, whether you choose to defend yourself is only going to affect it's only going to affect how useful you were to the other people who chose to defend themselves. I'm still pretty mad at STL? Nah, STL is super cool. Exception of post-Vaush in that context. What's this? You know what is real? Autism. STL looking at you. Love you, STL. Okay. Does everyone understand where I'm coming from with this? Vaush, you are making people scared. Trans femcel, you should be scared. That is the logical reaction to the world that we live in. But how you handle that fear is the liberal prescription is that democracy is eternal, history is over, any society which holds elections will continue to hold elections indefinitely. All other examples of that not happening be damned. And we don't have to talk about what happens when democracy fails, because democracy will never fail. Even talking about, in fact, talking about it will make democracy fail. So don't even talk about it. That's the liberal prescription. It can't happen, but if it will happen, it'll be because you talked about it happening. Isn't that the convo I just had? A little bit, kind of, a little. But it's happening either way. So buy a gun. Again, I've said this before about gun ownership. I've said this before. If you've got mental health stuff, if you think you might be a threat to yourself or someone else in your household, be responsible, be safe. Maybe you can own a gun but have a friend hold it. I don't know, This is Sig Sauer P320AXG, I think. Too many things. But you can just get a Glock, Nothing wrong with having a Glock. You can get nice 17 rounds in the mag or something fun like that. And you can dry fire. Yeah. Just make sure you don't accidentally make some schizo baby leftist do anything serious, the doomer pilling. No. You're holding the gun gaily. I am gay. This isn't about doomer pilling, okay? We live in a remarkably privileged part and time of the world to have even enjoyed centuries of democracy in this country. Conflicted democracy, but democracy nonetheless. It is important to understand, if everyone just rolled over when the bad times are a-coming, how would we have made it this far? How would we have made it this far, huh? Come on. Dr. Strange, I am not doomer pilling anyone. It is not about doomer pilling anybody. The point here is not doomer. When I hear doomer, when I say doomer, what I'm saying is nothing can be done. I'm not saying that. When have I said that? Did I say that? The only thing that I'm fatalistic about is that the Democratic Party will not be able to stop Republicans from ending democracy. You said 2024 was over. That was a bit simplistic. I only meant to say that the effects of direct action are not going to have an outcome in 2024, nor are we going to have a giant progressive movement by then. The actual electoral outcome of 2024 is very important. Democrat has to win. And we will make a Democrat win, no matter how many ballots we have to forge. Hey, SDL. If I had to point some historical potence of doom for arm resistant the rich world, various groups did fight fashion at the end. They were some of the first ones in the country. What happened to the first Antifa? Soaked on left. I have been supportive and permissive of your data mail mindset, but I feel you have very strong ideological biases here. Which party fought and died? Beginning of the first Red Vienna. I don't know much at all about the Austrian Civil War. Skirmishes between fascist and socialist forces. Wait, hold on. The people who died here died heroes. This is hardly a deterrent. The Austrian Civil War between socialists and fascists, the people who died here were socialists. They would have been targeted by the Nazis anyway. Rather than just being killed in camps, they got to gun down fascist organizers beforehand. This is what I mean. The violence came for them anyway. I suppose they could have run. I would need to read more on this, I think, to... How many did they kill? In 1933, Christian Social Chancellor Engelbert Dollfuss suspended the Austrian Parliament in a close vote in the National Council. Each of the three members suspended the Austrian Parliament. Phenomenal. The bylaws. Dollfuss used the opportunity to declare Parliament had ceased to function, blocked all attempts to reconvene it, and threatened to use military force against the parliamentarians. Okay, so he shut down Parliament, then said because the Parliament was shut down, it couldn't work, and then kept people from re-establishing it, and then brought the military out to stop people from re-establishing it. Police and paramilitaries took up positions outside these fortified complexes of the socialist groups. The parties exchanged fire, initially only with small arms. Chancellor Dollfuss ordered Karl Marx-Hof shelled with light artillery, endangering the lives of thousands of civilians and destroying many flats before forcing the socialist fighters to surrender. The fighting ended in Vienna and Upper Austria by the 13th of February. Well, they died heroes. Weren't the first anti-fascist groups a bit sussy in their own right? They were Stalinist, weren't they? Big Stalinists. Well, that's pretty cringe. The Kristallnacht was precipitated by a Jewish Polish immigrant assassinating an official. Couldn't the same happen in the U.S.? Are you suggesting the Holocaust wouldn't have happened if the Jewish Polish immigrant hadn't assassinated an official? The problem is, like, this is what they want from you, okay? They want you to not resist, so when they do the things they were gonna do anyway, they say it's because you resisted. This is a tactic so ubiquitous that's literally used by rapists. I mean, like, if you hadn't resisted, this wouldn't have happened. Like, like, don't believe them. Like, when the fascist is like, yeah, the only reason we did the Holocaust is because, like, you tried to resist us when we legally oppressed you. If only you hadn't done that. Like, they would have done it anyway. There's no reason to take their word for it. What segment are we on? We're not even doing it. Okay, no. You're right. The stream has gone on